So the first question I want to ask you is, do we pronounce it FHANG? Just ignore the H. Is that right?
We don't know yet.
We don't really know. Yeah.
We're waiting for
kind of like, we kind of made jokes about that. We're like, yeah, nobody, I'm like, how do we even pronounce this band name? We're like FHANG, 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 like
FHANG.
FHANG. Most people are just saying FHANG, but that is funny because when we first we're like, oh yeah, everyone will like say it differently.
But it's easy to find on Google, right?
Yeah.
And I was looking at your music videos and I noticed one of the comments said, and I quote, odd, enjoyable, but odd. Do you think that's a pretty good description of your music?
I think so. I mean, yeah, it's that's so funny. I mean, that was the first YouTube comment we ever got. And I was like, oh yeah, that's like, because we specifically put that song out first. Because we were like, oh, if we put this one out, like, it will like leave people questioning, like, oh, that was like pretty weird, like a pretty weird first song. Like, I'm gonna have to follow up and see what the next song is to like figure out if I'm into this band or not. Right.
That's a good theory, I think. So when you decided you were going to start making music together, what was in your head about what you wanted to create? Because your music is very diverse from what I've heard so far.
Nice.
I mean, I don't think we had a plan per se. You know, the project wasn't born until there was already a few ideas on the board. Like, I think we were just communicating a lot at that time, and this was like literally the project started because of the pandemic, I'd say. You know, like I came home from tour and just needed something else to do whilst going through all this craziness and crazy mess and adapting. But so this was, like personally, I was just at home learning a DAW, learning Ableton and laying down some ideas. And I think knowing very well that I love Sam's production, and I think we were just for whatever reason, I think we were communicating a lot at that point, and I think we just started sending ideas back and forth, so we didn't really we didn't call it a band until we kind of made, until we kind of said to ourselves, like, okay, like now we have all this music that we've all worked on, so I guess I think in my mind it was more like an album before band, you know what I mean? Like, I think
at first it was like just about the record. It wasn't really about us playing it live, and we were like, oh, like let's just do this record, like we kind of have a theme, we kind of have a vibe, we're both like feeling the same sort of stuff. And then it was just like, and then just show opportunities.
I mean, in retrospect, I think it was that because we're in the quarantine, so we were at home kind of just tripping out on this music, and I wasn't even imagining a live kind of context for it until just recently, now that people want to come back to normal, and it is happening. But I think for a long time it was just something to get lost in, like trip out, go to the end of ideas. But it was almost like a virtual like in a kind of weird virtual existence, because we didn't know what the hell was happening. So and then all of a sudden, the curtains open up and you're like, well, now I think we can play shows and bring the music in that live context, which we're still figuring out, but it's coming together.
So the album comes out on the 27th. At what point during this project did you feel like that was something that you wanted to do rather than just releasing individual tracks?
I think it was just kind of like we had nothing, and then it was like, oh, we kind of have 5 tracks all of a sudden, and then it was like, and then there was a couple ideas that I had from like my movie that Mishka was working on with me, and then it was like, oh, maybe these are FHANG tracks. So King Blame, which is kind of our like more punk rock dark wave tune on the album, like that was just something I was making. And it's actually funny because I'm not a singer either, and it's like I don't normally, or I mean, I guess neither of us normally are singers, and just like I'm like, dude, check it out, like I sang on this, and then I sent him it. I'm like, I'm playing guitar and I sang on it, like it's really weird, like, and then he's like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then I was just like, oh, maybe I'll do like a punk like little EP or something. And then Mishka's like, oh, but what about if it was like after one of these big like electronic kind of ballads that we have, or like one of these more like just after this like really, like if this is putting the right pacing on an album, like it'll be such a twist, and it'll be like,
yeah, I remember having that moment of like that thing that musicians often do is try to, you know, that first moment when you jam with somebody, you're like, okay, we're gonna be like punk, you know, or we're gonna be this, and then all of a sudden you're kind of putting this limit on yourself, you know. I was just very aware at that moment. I thought it was exciting to, you know, if we are already communicating on that level and have all these ideas, and that's what we are already, you know, so that this band can go to all those places, you know, and it will be even more freeing and more exciting. And I love a good twist in anything, movies, whatever, books, like it's so trippy, you know. You all of a sudden you destabilize the person and they can go somewhere else. I feel like it's so that was an actual moment when I heard that music. I was like, what, you're gonna make this this like punk band now? Like you're gonna try to write a bunch of this kind of song or this kind of music and just make, I just thought it would be so much more exciting to, because it was all happening at the same time anyways, you know, so it was infused with kind of the same emotional stuff, you know.
Do you ever worry that people are going to judge you from one song and not explore the others, which they might like and maybe miss because they didn't like the first thing they heard?
I wonder. I mean, like, I guess the album concept is not a popular now anyways, you know, people just listen to whatever Spotify plays first. But yeah, I think we put together these songs with a playthrough kind of listen in mind, you know.
This is definitely like throw the vinyl on, like, which is, I feel like most artists, or I mean a lot of artists are probably thinking that when they're making something. But it's I also feel like our pacing and the idea was like, we were kind of like, oh, I want this to feel like a cool playlist that someone can put on at a party and like not need to worry about it, and it just kind of being like a vibe all the way through. And as to what you said, like about someone missing it, it's like, it's almost so eclectic though, like we might also grab people that we wouldn't normally
for sure
like get with just like something like the Tehran and Aomari featured track Many Moons, like with the more hip-hop kind of thing, or going to a song like My Crown or Fleur Du Mal. Like it's all, I think we're definitely a band where it's like people are going to be into it or they're probably not going to be into it. Like, like I think it'll be pretty like cut and dry as far as people that are into it or not.
Yeah. So if you meet somebody and you talk to them about FHANG or FHANG or however we're going to end up saying it, and they say, "Oh, play me a song," what would you pick? Because it's so, they're all so kind of different.
I'd probably play the first one if they had the first tune on the record, because we've already kind of had this conversation of, well, when you start to pace the music, that's a big part of you're bringing people into your world, and how do you get them to stick around, I guess. So the first track on the record is this long instrumental piece that I think if you get past that, then you're either really curious about what's going to happen next, or enough to play the next tune,
Yeah, totally. I'm and it's also funny just listening to people's feedback, because like everyone has a different like favorite, and there will be some people's reactions to certain songs that I'm like, oh, weird, didn't think you were gonna pick that one, like didn't expect that.
If you could pick your dream artist to go on tour with as the opening act, who would you choose?
We probably have so many different ones. I wonder.
Yeah.
I have no idea who you would want to open up for. Could we open up for like Vangelis? Just because I'm a big fan. I would love to meet him. But I feel like on my end, a lot of the influence, there's definitely a lot of Vangelis influence in the music. So that's why I say that. And I wonder if his listeners, the people who've enjoyed like the Blade Runner soundtrack or something, if they would see the connection. Bands, I don't know. I mean, I feel like it could work really well with some heavier acts.
I would love to perform with Arca, the producer Arca.
Oh, dope! Yeah,
that is like definitely.
That's true.
For me, like I'm so influenced by their music, and I also think I don't know if I'm saying this right or not, but Yves Tumor or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yves Tumor, yeah.
Yves Tumor, yeah, I think that would be a great. But that's me thinking of like, oh, if we were like with a modern artist that like would be a cool tour for like us to like kind of add to the tour. I think those are two acts.
I mean, Jane's Addiction could work. I'd love to win. I'd love to win over like a Converge crowd, but I think we need to be like in a net, protected.
Wow. I actually have a Converge sticker on the back of my laptop that I'm talking to you on.
Nice, dope. Yeah, I mean, it's just so like, and seeing them live. I remember seeing them live somewhere on tour, like some festival in Europe, and I was out there with Patrick, and I remember like trying to. Oh, I think I brought Robbie. Actually, I was like, we got to see this band. You're gonna freak out, just because it's so different from what we do and what we usually end up seeing. I was like, you got to like. I've only heard insane things about these guys, and I just remember like having such an emotional experience watching this hardcore band perform. I think I found it more touching than a lot of music that's supposed to do that. That's technically meant to make you feel those things, Yeah. Wow. And it was just 25 minutes of them giving it all. Like, we had probably just played a show, and I probably didn't give, as much of myself to what I had. So I grew up listening to a lot of heavy music as well. I absolutely love it. And I think that there's this, and I think that's part of FHANG as well, that we have this, some of the songs, if they weren't electronically, if we didn't take the electronic approach, they would actually just be like hardcore tunes, And one of them actually, that's what we decided to do live, because otherwise we'd be just playing back, doing playback. We're like, why don't we try to do this one the way it actually felt when I was, like what the emotions actually translate or trying to say. And it's basically like a hardcore tune, just a very skeletal, big drum beat and chugging bass line. And then Sam is yelling his head off. you know, in a like in an improvised, just an improvised rant, you know.
Give me an album that like a new album or newish album that you've heard recently from another artist that maybe people would have missed that you think we need to check out.
But yeah, albums, that's a good one, because everything's so fast. Even if you're really into a tune, I feel like you still rarely take the time to check out the rest of the songs, you know. And it's everything's on, or at least, you know, everything's on playlists. You're just kind of like bouncing around.
I've been listening to a lot of Boy Harsher,
Okay.
and also Trust, R/ST. I don't know like what the new release is, but that's just what I've been listening to, and it's kind of like more like gothic.
I don't know, did anybody miss the new Billie Eilish? I kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah, I don't think anyone missed that.
No.
I don't think anyone missed that one.
I mean, on a personal discovery, I just really got into Alice Coltrane. It's not new, obviously, but it's new to me, and I think that she was like, yeah, on another level. It's so beautiful.
And what about Montreal artists? Are there anybody that from Montreal that you think needs a bit more attention?
Everett Bird.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
He's like a good friend of mine, and literally blows my mind, and I think is one of the most like overlooked Canadian producer artists. And he's from Montreal, originally from Vancouver. We met at like a recording boot camp when we were like, I was an assistant and he was like the young band there, and we became friends, and then he moved out here, and then we kind of reconnected when I moved out here, and we're actually working on a couple tunes together, and I'm just very inspired by his music.
I like Paul Jacobs a lot. I think people are onto him, but he's great. Seen him a couple times live, and it was the real deal, you know.
I don't want to keep you too long. We've been chatting for a while, but it's been really nice talking to you guys, and good luck with the album and everything. Hopefully I will get to catch you live in Montreal soon.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our music and talk to us about it, because I think this is the beginning of kind of what we manifested, because it's just like, it's nice to kind of hear what you think about the record, and we're happy to just kind of hear that it's connecting with some people.
Yeah, I'm excited for people to hear it.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, you guys have nice days.
Yeah,
thanks a lot.